Welcome to Tax Teach. My name's Sean. I'm a certified public accountant specializing in taxation. Today I want to go over how to calculate the earned income tax credit as well as report the credit on your tax return. Let's get right into it.
Before we get into looking at the form and the calculation itself, let's give the background of the facts for this example. We have taxpayers Jane and John Doe. They're married, filing jointly. They have two children, Jill, who's 8, Ben, who's 5. We're going to have W-2 income of $50,000, interest income of $100, and we're going to assume that all family members have valid Social Security numbers by the time this tax return is filed, as well as all family members being a U.S. resident or citizens for the full year and living in the U.S. for the full year. That is the facts behind this example. Now let's get into how the form will be prepared. Alright, so here is the form 1040. Most of it's blank. I just want to go over the EIC, the Earned Income Tax Credit, so I didn't fully complete the form, but you can see here line 27, that is where you will place the Earned Income Tax Credit. Note that if you have qualifying children, so in this example we have 2, we are going to have to fill out Schedule EIC, but if you're single trying to get this credit, you don't have to fill out Schedule EIC. And you can see here the first part of the 1040, we have the $50,000 of the W-2 income, the $100 in the interest income, and then the calculation further down the form. So now let's look at the Schedule EIC, because this taxpayer example we have 2 children. Here's the Schedule EIC. We have the taxpayer and then also the children down here, Jill and Ben. In our example, Jill is 8, Ben is 5, and these are considered qualifying children. Now you might be asking, what is considered a qualifying child? And if you go down to the second page of this schedule, there is a qualifying child diagram here that lets you know what a qualifying child is. It can be a son, daughter, stepchild, foster child, brother, sister, stepbrother. All these examples here. They have to be under the age of 19 at the end of the tax year and younger than you or your spouse. Or they have to be under the age of 24 at the end of the tax year, a student, and younger than you or your spouse. If they are permanently disabled and totally disabled, they can be any age. So these are the qualifying children parameters. Let's go back up to the beginning of this Schedule EIC. In our example, we have Jill and Ben, who are both considered qualifying children because they are younger than their parents, obviously, and they're 8 and 5, so they're under 19. You put the children's name here. In child 1 and child, we got Jill and Ben. You put their Social Security numbers on line 2. 3, you put the year in which they are born, 14 and 17 for these children. 4A was a child under the age of 24. Mark yes for both children were. And then it tells us to go to line 5 here. We have daughter for Jill relationship, and then we have son for Ben. How many years do the children live with you in the United States? Or how many months? We have 12 and 12. And that is the Schedule EIC. Pretty simple. They just want to know the information of your qualifying children for the schedule. Now that we have the information for the qualifying children, now I'm going to go to the Form 1040 instructions where we'll actually calculate your earned income tax credit. So let's take a look at that. Here we are. We're at the Form 1040 instructions, page 38 for 2022 tax year. And this is where we'll calculate our earned income tax credit. Let's start with step 1 for all filers. If in 2022, we have 2 children, they have valid Social Security numbers, and we have to look at line 11 of our Form 1040. If it's less than $49,000 if you're single, or $55,000 if you're married filing jointly, is the first question, because if we make over $55,000 and $55,529, we can't take the credit if we have 2 children. If we go back to our Form 1040 here, our line 11 Your adjusted gross income is $50,100, which is the combination of the $50,000 we made under W-2 wages and $100 we made on interest income. So if we go, and going back to the example, our taxpayer makes under $55,000, so we would mark yes here and continue on. Do you and your spouse, if filing jointly, have a social security number? We do, so we keep going. Did we file form 255 or 2555? No, we didn't, because this form relates to foreign earned income, and these taxpayers were in the U.S. for the tax year. So we go no. Then the next question is, were you or your spouse a non-resident alien for any part of the year? We're going to say no and go to step 2, investment income. If you make over a certain amount of investment income, you cannot take the earned income tax credit. And in our example, if we look at line 2B here, we have $100 in interest income, which is considered investment income. We would put 100 here with a total of 100 investment income. Next, we go to 2. Is your investment income more than $10,300? No, it is not, right? We only have $100 of investment income. You would skip question 3 and go to question 4, which is right here. Do any of the following apply for 2022? Are you filing Schedule E? No, this relates to rental income. Are you reporting income from personal property? No, in our example, we did not have this. Are you filing Form 8814? No, we're not. Do you have any income loss from passive activity? No. So we're going to go to step 3. Right now we're on step 3, determining your qualifying child. We went over this when we went over Schedule EIC, so I'm not going to go too in-depth here. Just know that this calculation is just determining if you have qualifying children for the year. We'll start with part 1 of this step. Do you have at least one child who meets the conditions to be your qualifying child? In this case, both Ben and Jill, as discussed earlier, both would be considered qualifying children, so we mark yes here. Second part of this step is, are you filing a joint return for 2022? In our example, yes, both Jane and John are filing a joint return, so we mark yes here. We skip the rest of the questions in this step, and we skip step 4 altogether, and next we'll go to step 5. So let's go down to step 5 right here, and this is where we will determine our earned income. All right, here's step 5, the earned income. Are you filing Schedule SE? This relates to self-employment income. Our example, no, these taxpayers don't have any self-employment income. We go to question 1, enter the amount of Form 1040, line 1Z. If you go back to our 1040 here and go to line 1Z, you can see we have 50,000. If we go back to the instructions, put 50,000 here, follow these questions, 50,000 here. We go next to 4, and none. And so our total earned income is 50,000, which is expected. That is the amount of W-2 wages for these taxpayers. Question 2 here, were you self-employed? No. So we'd continue down to 3. If you have, in our example, we have 2 qualifying children who have valid social security numbers and earned income less than, since we were married filing jointly, we do, yes, we do have earned income less than $55,529. So we select yes here. And the next step is to go to step 6, and this is where we will figure out what our earned income tax credit is for these taxpayers. Step 6, the last step, is let's just figure out how to figure the credit here. There's 2 options. One, you can go with have the IRS calculate your credit, or you can go to the worksheet and calculate it yourself. In this tutorial, I want to go over how to calculate it yourself. Just note that if you want to have the IRS figured out, you would check it here and go down, and you'll see the credit figured by the IRS, enter EIC on the dotted line next to line 27. And that, if you go here, this is line 27, you would enter EIC in the dotted line, and then the IRS would calculate it for you. But in our example, we want to calculate this ourselves, so we'll go to Schedule A, as mentioned. So we'll scroll down. Schedule A is on page 43 of the 1040 instructions for 2022. Enter the earned income. We have the $50,000 right from our W-2 earned wages. And the second step is to look up the amount of EIC from the table. So we'll scroll down with this 50,000 number, right? Go down to the table mentioned. Here is the EIC table. You can see in the first column, this is the amount of earned income, and then the other amounts relates to what filing status you are and how many qualifying children there is. So we're looking to look up 50,000 on this column, and then we'll look at what are married filing jointly, 2 qualifying children. That will be the EIC that we pull. So we'll scroll down a couple pages until we get to that 50,000 number that is our earned income number. We'll go down, keep going, and right here we got 50,000. We'll keep going across the table until we get to 2. That's our qualifying children that we have. We have 2. So we have 1,159. We'll go back to the worksheet A with that 1,159 number. Keep scrolling until we get there right here. So we'll enter that 1,159 number. 3, we next have to enter the amount from line 11 of our 1040. So let's go back to the 1040. Line 11 is 50,100, which is our W-2 and our interest income. Let's go back to the instructions. 50,100. Are the amounts on line 3 and 1 the same? No, they're not the same, right? We have a slight difference because of that interest income. So let's go to line 5. If you have 1 or more qualifying children and valid Social Security, is the amount less than 26,300 if you're married filing jointly? No, it's not, right? It's 50,100. So now we have to look up on line 3, the amount on line 3, which is the 50,100, and go back to that table that we are looking at and recalculate the EIC. So we'll go back to that table right here. Instead of using that 50,000 number, we're going to use that 50,100 number. We'll go across the table and we have 1,138. A slight difference between the amount that we calculated originally. Let's go back to the worksheet. We'll have the 1,138 amount. So we'll look at this and see, all right, this is the amount of credit, 1,138. Look at the amounts on line 5 versus line 2. And then we have to enter the smaller the amount on line 6. So the smaller amount would be $1,138 in our example. This is our earned income tax credit for this taxpayer. And to remind everyone of the example, we had married filing jointly taxpayers. They had 2 children, qualifying children. Their earned income was $50,000, but they also had some interest income of $100, so their adjusted gross income was $50,100, and our total earned income tax credit comes out to be $1,138 for this taxpayer. Go back to our Form 1040 here and go to the line 27, and we calculated their earned income tax credit of $1,138. And remember, for this taxpayer, we'll have to include Schedule EIC with a Form 1040 tax return. And that is the calculation of the earned income tax credit, as well as how you report it on your individual income tax return. This is a very basic example, but I hope going through the instructions and how we calculate the credit is helpful for you. When it's time for you to file your tax return this year, you have that basic background of how you calculate the tax credit.
Thanks for watching the video. I hope you found the video helpful and informative. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. It lets me know that I produced a good video. And if you want to watch content like this in the future, hit the subscribe button. It's free and it keeps you up to date on items I post in the future. Thanks for watching the video, and I'll see you all next video.